Welcome back to Unmasked, where we take off the filters and get real about faith, failure, and finding freedom. I'm your host, Wesley Farnsworth, a dad, veteran, author, and a man who's learned that God does his best work in the middle of our mess. Today, we continue our three-part series, God Writes New Stories, and this episode is called Rock Bottom is Holy Ground. Now, I know the phrase might feel strange. You might be thinking, what could possibly be holy about rock bottom? And that's exactly what we're going to explore. And by the time we're done, I think that you'll see your lowest moments differently. Let me start here. Have you ever felt like God could use anyone but you? You look around your church or your community and you think, he's gifted, she's strong, they're spiritually mature. Wow, they have it really put together. But you're dealing with old wounds, private fears, hidden battles, or a nagging sense that you're somehow spiritually defective. You believe in God's power, but not his willingness to work through you. And so you live in quiet spiritual tension. You want God, but you're terrified that he doesn't want you. You pray, but you don't expect much. You serve, but you feel unworthy. You show up, but you feel disqualified. You try to worship, but shame gets in your way. You sense God moving, but you shrink back. It's a different kind of imposter syndrome, not about career success or leadership roles, but about faith itself. Before the night everything changed for me, before I ever walked into a Celebrate Recovery meeting, I had already hit a kind of rock bottom inside. I didn't crash publicly. I didn't lose everything. I didn't announce my pain. My rock bottom was quieter, but it was just as real. Maybe that's your story too. Some people hit rock bottom in dramatic, visible ways, but others, their rock bottom looks like silent exhaustion. You go to church, but you feel numb. You pray, but your words fall flat. You read scripture, but nothing sticks. You serve others, but you feel empty afterwards. You look in the mirror, but you barely recognize the person staring back at you. Rock bottom doesn't always look like destruction. Sometimes it's disconnection. And that's where I was, spiritually tired, emotionally drained, and aware that something needed to change, but terrified of what honesty might require. But there comes a moment for every believer, for every person running from something, where your strength simply runs out. You can't pretend anymore. You can't push through it anymore. You can't outrun the truth anymore. And that moment, when it hits you, you feel like you're falling apart. But here's the strange thing. The moment that you fall apart is often the moment that God finally has room to work. Our self-sufficiency breaks, our pride cracks, our pretending crumbles, and in the space left behind, God begins to rebuild. But in the middle of it, oh man, it feels like devastation. If anyone knew what rock bottom looked like, it was Moses. Yes, I said Moses. See, when we think of Moses, we think of miracles. We think of the plagues, the Red Sea parting, the 10 Commandments, the mountaintop movements, or the mountaintop moments, the big things, the big stories. But Moses' story didn't start on a mountaintop. It actually started in a pit of shame. He killed a man, impulsively, emotionally, recklessly. And when word got out, Moses fled. He spent 40 years in the wilderness, not on mission trips or a spiritual retreat, but hiding, running, ashamed, convinced that he had destroyed his destiny. By the time God had appeared to him in the burning bush, Moses wasn't confident, he was broken. When God called to him, Moses didn't say, "Absolutely, I've been preparing for this." He said, "Who am I?" Translation? God, you've got the wrong person. I'm disqualified. Moses thought his rock bottom disqualified him. But God looked at that same rock bottom and said, "This is exactly where I wanted to meet you." Jesus gives another picture of rock bottom in the Bible. In the story of the prodigal son, this young man hits the lowest of lows, financially, morally, emotionally, spiritually. He's alone. He's starving. He's feeding pigs. He's an absolute humiliation to Jewish culture. He rehearses a speech in his mind, thinking that he will have to earn his way back home. "Father, I've sinned. I'm no longer worthy. Make me one of your hired servants." That's what he's telling himself that he's going to say. But scripture says, while he was still a long way off, the Father saw him, ran to him, embraced him, kissed him, and restored him before the Son could even finish the apology. Meaning is this? The meaning of this is that rock bottom wasn't at the end for him either. It was the doorway home. When I hit rock bottom, it wasn't an explosion. It was a slow unraveling. I had been serving for years, showing up, leading, pouring out, trying to be dependable, trying to be strong. But inside, the gap between my outer life and my inner life grew wider and wider. And suddenly, the truth caught up with me. I realized that I couldn't keep carrying it alone. And that is when rock bottom hit. Not because I lost everything, but because I finally admitted that I can't do this anymore. I need help. That admission, those words, were holy. Painful? Absolutely. Embarrassing? Oh, yeah, but holy. Because that's the moment that God stepped into the mess that I had been trying to manage for years all alone and took control. Walking into Celebrate Recovery felt like walking into a spotlight that I didn't want. I remember the lights were really bright. It was a recovery meeting, so of course there was coffee brewing in the room. I felt like everyone there could see right through me. I got greeted at the door, and everyone was really kind. The worship felt really sincere. The testimonies that I heard, the lessons that I heard, felt really honest. Everything seemed designed to expose me. Not because anyone was judging me, but because I had been hiding for so long. And when the leader looked at me that evening and asked me why I was there, I gave a soft answer, a half-truth. I gave an answer that protected the deep secrets that I'd been hiding. But in that moment, he stopped and he looked at me and he said, "Is there anything else?" And something inside of me broke. In that moment, the mask that I had been wearing cracked. The light started to come through it. The moment I stopped protecting the version of myself that I wanted people to see so desperately. The moment that I stopped running, the moment that I admitted the truth, and was the moment that God met me deeply, personally, powerfully. So why does God meet us there? Why does God meet us at rock bottom? Why does he show up in the lowest places? Because at rock bottom, you're not pretending anymore. You're not performing. You're not negotiating. You're not defending yourself. You're not relying on your own strength any longer. You're finally being honest. And honesty is the soil where grace can grow the deepest. Rock bottom becomes holy ground because it's where pride dies. It's where surrender begins. It's where clarity forms. It's also where false identities fall away and where real transformation starts. God doesn't love your rock bottom, but he loves meeting you there. When I walked into that room, I expected silence. I expected awkwardness. I expected distancing, attention, a change in how people looked at me. I expected to be asked to leave the room, to leave the church when I shared why I was there. But instead, I got something that I didn't expect. I got compassion. They didn't pull away. They didn't judge me. They didn't look at me in disgust. They loved me. They welcomed me. They said that you're safe here. They said you're brave for sharing that. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel alone. I felt seen for who I really was, a broken person, somebody struggling with something. I felt accepted. I didn't feel alone, as I said. But see, the room didn't fix me. It could have been any room, anywhere in the country or anywhere in the world. The room didn't fix me. It's the honesty that fixed me. It was the compassion, the unexpected, unearned compassion that became holy ground. So let me speak directly to you for a moment. Yeah, you, the person listening right now who's silently drowning, silently carrying, silently collapsing. The person that's thinking about pushing stop right now because you don't want to hear what I'm going to say. Yeah, I've been there. Your rock bottom is not proof that God abandoned you. It's proof that he is drawing near. You're not alone. The enemy says you're finished. You're worthless. You're too far gone. God is disappointed. You're disqualified. Nobody is going to understand. You're alone. But I'm here to tell you, those are all lies from the pit of hell. Don't believe a single one of them. Because Jesus says, I'm here. I see you. I'm not afraid of this. I will run towards you. I will carry you home. I will write new stories. Rock bottom might feel like a grave, but for many of us, it becomes a place where resurrection begins. So this week, I encourage you to take some time to do this. Name your rock bottom. Not out loud, not to a crowd, just between you and God. I'm not even asking you to tell somebody, but name your rock bottom. Name the fear, the struggle, the habit, the heartbreak, the shame. Name the exhaustion, and then pray this: God, meet me here. You don't need eloquence. You don't need the right words. You don't need spiritual strength. You just need honesty, because honesty is holy ground. Thanks for joining me today for part 2 of God Writes New Stories. If this moment spoke to you, if it helped you see your lowest moments differently, share it with somebody who needs hope. And join me next week as we wrap up this series with a powerful truth: when shame becomes your platform. Until then, remember this: rock bottom is not your ending. It's where God is ready to begin again. God bless you.